We are now talking to founder and owner of Ultranite, a company that makes face masks for underprivileged communities and NHL players. Tolik Borts. What's going on, Tolik?
How are you guys? Thank you so much for having me on. It's an absolute wonder.
We're absolutely excited to have you on. We love what you're doing right now, nationally, around the country. With this pandemic, it's been absolutely crazy. When it came out, I was hiding under my desk. I thought that would save me from getting caught with any of this COVID-19. A matter of fact, I work during the day in a hospital, and every time, when it first came around, I thought I was going to catch it. There was over 300 and some odd people at my hospital that caught it in their own wing. And I thought I was definitely going to catch it. I have never caught COVID-19. Knock on fake wood. I've been safe wearing my masks. Definitely got to get a worldwide sports radio mask made by Tolik and promote it on this show. We need one. That's for definitely sure. But Tolik, why don't you tell the fans a little bit about what you do with the community and what you do with your brand and how you've been pushing out your product?
Yeah, absolutely. So when the pandemic started, what we decided to do when PPE and masks or any kind of medical equipment was in a scarce stance, what we decided to do was take what you see behind me, our jerseys and our T-shirts, and cultivate face masks for our fans. So what we did was we started a face mask for fans project, and we spread it all around social media. So the whole idea was to keep our fans and our players within our industry safe. It kind of took off a little bit where some of the former NHLers took some notice. It got relatively, how can I say it, popular. And we just continued, and with the funds raised from those face masks, from T-shirts, even donated to us by fans, we started donating to hospitals, EMS stations, first responders, essential employees. It kind of took off, but the main prerogative was to start a not-for-profit organization. And as you know, all the government agencies were pretty slow with us, but eventually we caught up. Our paperwork was in, and we are now officially a registered 501c3 not-for-profit organization. What we do is we raise funds for humanitarian programs, sports programs, arts, and music. And we get kids involved within those programs that aren't fortunate enough to afford their own, like travel league teams, home teams, any kind of sports activities that kids can get involved, especially with this pandemic. All kids were doing was sitting at home. So now that these programs are starting to open back up, we're raising funds for families that weren't working, that couldn't afford to put their kids in a sport like hockey, which is very expensive. We're also collecting secondhand sports equipment for families that aren't fortunate enough to afford their own. So while the face masks was a kind of a bittersweet product for us to get into and kind of get to know our community very well and protect, we started our own not-for-profit, which now extends its helping hands to the community. It helps families with children get their kids back involved within these programs and get a little bit more of focus with their families. So that's what we've been doing so far.
So was it just was the idea initially started with the face masks idea, or did you have any other forms of charitable things that you did even before this pandemic? Was it something direct like that? And if so, what were they?
So to be honest with you, it was only face masks. Like I said, we took a little bit of a unique approach. It's just, as opposed to just sewing masks out of, I don't know, regular material that you would go into, like into a Joann's or a Michael's, we decided to utilize our own shirts and our own jerseys. But we took the right path here. We decided not to just keep in mind with these face masks. I mean, if anybody would go onto our website, it's Ultranite, ALTRUNITE.com. Like I said, we took a little bit of a more unique approach. We do not screen print or heat press any licensed logos or numbers or names. We simply take a shirt, any sports shirt, mainly New York Rangers, obviously, and we cut, sew, and stitch only. So we simply repurpose an already licensed product, sell it to a fan, and raise the money and donate it right back into the community or to our not-for-profit organization. And for any matter, any not-for-profit organization that partners up with us. So in the interim, while we were doing this, we decided to do T-shirts and things that matter. Maybe a little bit of medical supply equipment, things of that nature. But for us, mainly, it was the face mask that got us going. That's what we're really known for. So the ultralight face mask, like I said, it became a symbol of giving back to our community. So I don't foresee anything that we wouldn't be known for anything else. But we're definitely now much more than just face masks. We're definitely giving back to our community in the way we partner up with a New York Rangers legend. His name is Adam Graves.
Of course.
What they do, they remodel and rebuild pediatric and hospital children's rooms in a setting where they can be a little more relaxed and stress-free. They paint beautiful murals and put interactive technology in the rooms. Toys for kids to play with. So that's a partner that we took on early. This is an individual that gave us a call when our project was getting on the way, and he advised us on things to do. So this was an absolute godsend to us. And we got, so after Adam called us, maybe a few months later after that, the New York Rangers gave us a call, and they asked us to make them custom face masks for them. So each player got their own number stitched and embroidered onto their face masks made out of jerseys. We sent it to them, and they went out to Toronto for the playoffs for the qualifying rounds, and they wore it. So it was displayed on TV, on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So it was pretty humbling and pretty wonderful to see that.
It's exciting, absolutely. When you have a professional hockey team, a team that you follow, a team that you root for, obviously wearing your masks during the playoffs, that's a sensational feat. We are talking to founder and owner of Ultranite, a company that makes face masks for underprivileged communities and NHL players, Tolik Borts. Now, Tolik, I watched a lot of the playoffs, and the Rangers didn't have a very good playoff run, that's for sure. But there was a team.
Absolutely.
There was a team in New York that did. The New York Islanders. What were your thoughts with the Islanders, the way they went all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals? A lot of people are giving the Islanders a lot of backlash because if their season prolonged, they probably wouldn't have made the playoffs because they weren't playing good hockey. Pelech was hurt. All the crap that you heard, and Ranger fans were bah humbug with the whole Islanders run because the Rangers were one of the hottest teams in hockey before the whole COVID-19 came out, and then they were one of the worst teams going into the playoffs. So what were your thoughts on the run for the Islanders, and do you think that COVID-19 was the reason why the Islanders made it to the playoffs and went so far?
Absolutely not. I mean, a Ranger fan myself, and we go back and forth with Islanders fans. So, I mean, if you thought that the Islanders made anything less than a wonderful season and a wonderful playoff run, then you're just not a hockey fan at all. I think the Islanders did an absolutely fantastic job through and through, end to end. I mean, they just got outbeat by a better team. I think they did an absolutely fantastic job. There were guys hurt. They were the better team before Tampa with every other team. I think the pandemic had absolutely nothing to do with any team. If anything, the Rangers even got a better chance because they were out of the playoff spot coming into the qualifying rounds. So we got a good chance there. But, I mean, it goes against everything I believe in to give praise to the New York Islanders. But I think they did an absolutely fantastic job, going into the playoffs. And had there been a little more of a momentum or a little bit more strength, I think they would have went all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. So you were showing me before the show all this room that you have with a ton of Rangers jerseys, a ton of memorabilia. So what are some of the jerseys and the? You're
talking to a Ranger fan, by the way.
He knows. He knows.
This guy's a Ranger fan.
Yeah. You want to?
It's beautiful. Yeah. Wow, look at that.
People look at that. Yeah.
There's a man cave of Rangers.
Yeah. So what are some of the jerseys that you have and some of the memorabilia you have, and maybe a player that people might not remember or forgot about that you have? Like, what are some names that we forgot about?
I mean, I'm a goaltender, so my my idol growing up was obviously Mike Richter.
Mine was Vanbiesbrouck.
Vanbiesbrouck was a little. See, I immigrated.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on, Tolik. Are you going to honestly sit here and tell me that Mike Richter was a better goaltender than John Vanbiesbrouck?
Everything, his numbers, his play, everything shows about it.
No.
You see, here's the thing with me and John Vanbiesbrouck. I didn't get to see him, I think, at his core when he was beginning. I immigrated to this country in 1992, right around the time where Mike Richter was given that chance to really play for the Rangers. So I didn't really get to see John Vanbiesbrouck play. I was 8 years old when I came to this country, so Mike Richter was already getting his chance in that. I mean, come on, 1994, Stanley Cup, champ.
Won a Stanley Cup. If Vanbiesbrouck wasn't traded, he would have won the Stanley Cup.
I think he had a good chance in Florida. If you remember, in like 1996, Florida was that powerful team that nobody could beat with like Scott Mellenby, and I think they had their chance with John Vanbiesbrouck, but I just don't think he ever had it. It's like the same thing with Lundqvist. Look at what a wonderful player Lundqvist is. Look at his numbers. He's a Hall of Famer, but he just never had that chemistry of a team to be in front of him to get him that cup. Simple as that.
Vanbiesbrouck is 374 to 346, 440 shutouts. To Mike Richter's 301, 258 to 24 shutouts. Mike Richter's goals against was 2.89. Vanbiesbrouck's was 2.98, which is practically the same.
They were the same. Yeah.
Save percentage 0.94 to Vanbiesbrouck's 0.899, which in these days would have been a lot higher because the game is completely different. So,
I agree.
They're practically the same. So if you were to ask me who was a better player, first of all, and by the way, Mike Richter never won a Vezina trophy. Vanbiesbrouck did in 1985 and 86. So,
but Mike Richter did win the World Cup in 1996 for USA,
and Vanbiesbrouck was on the team too, so he did too.
Standing on his head.
But Vanbiesbrouck won one too because he was on the team too. So,
but who was the starter?
I mean, it was Richter. They gave it to because Richter won the Stanley Cup, and '95 was the World Cup, and that was the first World Cup. So they gave it to Richter was the starter, and Richter was the younger player, but. All in all, Vanbiesbrouck's best seasons were coming up. In '96, he had one of the craziest seasons an American goaltender will ever have. I think he had 45 wins or something like that. His goals against was like 2.4 something, and in those days, that's low. And I thought the game was a lot better in the '90s than it is now. I just think the game was just so many great superstars.